Supervisors from April 30th, 2024. Can you start with roll call?
Matthew Brown, Chief, please.
Krista Henry, Township Engineer.
Brian Hart, Zoning Officer.
David Chris, Director of Finance.
Jeff Winterbottom, Assistant Manager.
Bob Hart, Township Manager.
Sean Kilkenny, Township Solicitor.
Ashley DePiero, Supervisor.
Vice Chair Dennis D. Santo.
Ben Loretta, Supervisor.
And Lauren Rivera, Supervisor.
And Ken McDevitt, Chairman of the Board. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first item on the agenda is swearing in of new officers. Go you.
Going up.
Do you want to say something?
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to introduce you quickly before we swear in Gary Anthony Zampano. He's a graduate of Archbishop Wood High School. He attended Westchester University, where he received a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. He's a captain in the Pennsylvania Army National Guard. He's previously worked as a correctional officer at the Montgomery County Prison, and he's also worked with police experience in Yardley Borough and Morrisville Borough. So I'm excited tonight to introduce him to you and swear him in as our next patrol officer here in East Norton Township.
You won't let him.
All right, repeat after me. I, Gary Zampano,
I, Gary Zampano,
having been appointed as police officer in and for the township of East Norton,
having been appointed as a police officer in and for the Township of East Norton,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Pennsylvania Constitution,
Pennsylvania Constitution,
the laws of Pennsylvania,
the laws of Pennsylvania,
and the laws and ordinances of East Norton Township,
and the laws and ordinances of East Norton Township.
and that I will faithfully carry out my duties
And I will faithfully carry out my duties
of police officer
of police officer
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Further, I will uphold, obey, and enforce
Further, I will uphold, obey, and enforce
the law
the law
without consideration
without consideration
of a person's race,
of a person's race,
color,
color,
sex,
sex,
religious creed,
religious creed,
sexual orientation,
sexual orientation,
age,
age,
national origin,
national origin,
ancestry,
ancestry,
handicap, or disability.
handicap, or disability.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Next, I'd like to invite Melanie Jean Mishnak up here, please. Melanie is a graduate of Henderson High School, attended Westchester University. She's previously worked as a correctional officer at the Chester County Prison, and she has previous police experience with Valley Township, West Vincent Police Township, and Lower Providence Township. So we're excited to have you on board and excited to get you sworn in.
You raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Melanie Mitchell,
I, Melanie Mitchnar,
having been appointed as police officer
having been appointed as police officer
in and for the Township of East Norriton.
in and for the Township of East Norriton.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Pennsylvania
the
Constitution,
Pennsylvania Constitution,
the laws of Pennsylvania,
the laws of Pennsylvania,
and the laws and ordinances of East Norriton Township,
and the laws and ordinances of East Norriton Township.
and that I will faithfully carry out my duties
And I will faithfully carry out my duties
of police officer
of police officer
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Further,
Further,
I will uphold, obey, and enforce
I will uphold, obey, and enforce
the law
the law
without consideration
without consideration
of a person's race,
of a person's race,
color,
color,
sex,
sex,
religious creed,
religious creed,
sexual orientation,
sexual orientation,
age,
age,
national origin,
national origin,
ancestry,
ancestry,
handicap, or disability.
handicap, or disability.
Congratulations.
Oh, you got to prepare.
Thank you.
I would have right here.
Take it easy. Okay, I'd like to announce that we met for executive session for the purposes of litigation and also personnel matters. Next item on the agenda is to approve the regular meeting minutes for March 26, 2024. I'd like to entertain a motion. So moved.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Citizens be heard. Approach the podium and give us your name and address.
My name is Carol Gorman. I live at 902 Pierce Road. And I've been emailing about the water problem in our backyards, that all the water is very black. And the water's coming from Kennedy on down through my yard. I've emailed Bob Hart before, sent many pictures. I know it was quite hard on us, like it was most of the residents in the township. I have pictures to show you what my yard looks like this year. Visuals are always good. That's my yard. That's another picture. And I think this one, that's the patio. That's the other side. It's very wet. And I'm getting nowhere with the township. I don't know what to do. I have an estimate from Nickett Landscaping, who estimates, his estimates for swampy backyards. He estimated $6,100 to bring in a pipe from the end of my yard all the way to the front of the yard and exit it there at the curb. So it passes underneath the sidewalk and exits the curb. I'm the first house before the end of the street. There's a big drain there, and it would go down. All the rest of my neighbors have put in their own little pipes that comes out and just ices over in the winter, so that it's just a sheet of ice at the end of my driveway every year from their properties, constantly draining.
How long have you owned the property?
Been there since '92.
And did something change to make this happen all of a sudden? Or has this always happened?
It's always been wet, and houses were built in '68. From what I understand, there was supposed to be a park built by the township in the empty space behind us. A lot of the neighbors that are still there are original owners. They never got around to doing that, and they grandfathered the land into those neighbors. I don't own part of that land, because Hayes cuts over, and I back up to the neighbor that fronts Hayes.
So the reason that I'm asking, so having owned the home for 32 years, my question is, has something changed? Has there been regrading of township property that made this happen? That
You came and did some work for Joe Grady, our neighbor on Hayes. He's two behind us. He fronts Hayes. You put in a drain. He has a terrible problem as well. It's all coming from the property that was supposed to be the park, which probably should be a drainage field.
I appreciate it. This is a real problem. It's not, it's actually worse than maybe you made it sound. We have reached out and been working with State Rep Bradford's office about this. We're looking, our engineers, and I don't know if Krista Heinrich has looked at it with Jim yet, but there was an estimate of $150,000 to $200,000 to solve the problem because of the way the money, the way the water comes down. It's a tremendous amount. Mr. Bradford, or State Rep Bradford, is very interested in working with us to secure that money, to have not a patch, but a more substantial project to eliminate this problem once and for all. That's where we're at right now, hoping to have more information on that soon, but I do appreciate you could sail a little boat across there at times, so it's not something we don't know about. It really is, we want to get the funding, and the state has at least said that they are absolutely willing to try to find some funding for this particular project. So I
did email Matt Bradford
Yes.
this time.
Yes.
And he suggested I talk to Jim Sullivan, who's on silent on me.
Jim Sullivan.
he retired.
Retired.
Yeah, well, he won.
Yeah.
Okay. But isn't that funny? Matt Bradford is preferring me to him still. He has many of my pictures. I don't know what
He does.
happened.
And, today is Jim's last day, actually. So, but so that Matt's office does not know that yet. But I can assure you, I've had personal conversations about the funding. Not everybody in the office may know. I don't know about that, but.
But I mean, 6,100 is a lot, and he brought down the estimate to 4,800, thinking that maybe my neighbor next to me will go into it, or my neighbor next to me doesn't feel like he should solve the problem. We should pay for it to solve this problem, and it's not going to solve all of my problems because my patio just floods. It comes 2 feet and coming in. It came in.
Sure. I can offer this now because I can say we are working and hoping to secure that money. However, that doesn't help you tomorrow. And when we get those calls, if we can coordinate Krista Heinrich with you and come see what this is proposed
Jim,
and see what we can do. I know Jim probably
Jim
has.
has been out, but I.
But I mean, this is the time,
Okay.
we can definitely have helped individuals in certain situations where we can do it that makes sense. We clearly want to do something broader for there's a lot of water coming down here. But if there's something we can do now to help with the problem. I know the township has done it, and we would be willing to help, depending on what we can do. But if Krista can go out there, and if it's something reasonable that it will help initially, then I think we can work with you and come back to you with something, something good.
How many other properties are also having this?
Well,
I mean, I have a wet yard.
Within
Everybody on pays.
I will say, it's a problem, from all different townships,
No, I understand, but I mean, just in on Hayes, and you said you're on Pierce, right?
I'm on Pierce, but I'm
You're right on the corner?
right around the corner.
Yeah,
Okay.
and truly what it is, I mean, there's been a lot of work done, and a lot of private work done.
Yeah, no, I-
We help with certain homes when there's something we can do or plug in. The reality is, when a lot of these homes were built, there was no stormwater, there was very little stormwater concern, let alone regulations.
Right.
And I can tell you, when you go to every township, we have them, and it's a problem. If you're down the bottom of the hill, that water's coming right at you, and today, there would be things required that weren't required. And again,
We're pretty flat, but it comes to the lowest, and I'm to the lowest flat,
yeah.
yeah.
And again, it's a variety, because there's many houses that get it soaked, and there's other houses that get it. I mean, like, I'm speaking very broadly, they get beyond soaked. We try our best for each one, because, you're really you're remedying and trying to resolving things from 50 or 60 years ago that were done.
Sure, no, it was when they were built, like you
Yeah.
said, in 68, and I know they put that stream in that runs along.
We're on the high side of the stream.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's across the street from me, yeah, so the
So,
stream doesn't.
I will be able to brief you when I know Jim's been working on it, but Krista's here at the house, she'll be able to go out. And now that you actually have a plan you spoke to someone, we can review that as well, and I think we'll be glad to do that quickly. And then I'll come back to you with more.
I have a question for Krista, if I may.
Yeah.
So I have a wet yard, like yours. Mine's like yours. I've always thought that it was my responsibility, because I bought the house, I'm the homeowner, it's my water. What right where does the township step in? Where do municipalities step in typically when it's a privately owned home that's been owned for 32 years that has always had water, and now they're at a breaking point? At what point does the township step in and help?
And typically, I would say anywhere that we have township facilities like roads or parks, or it's coming from something of ours that we own and we can modify.
Yeah, that's why I asked if
When
anything
it
was
was the
different.
private
That was the
property,
reason that I asked that
That's
question.
where it gets, yeah.
Okay.
And
So
there
I'd
are,
like to see,
and there are times that we may have, since the homes were built, have put pipes in the street and they haven't connected, so we'll put a connector and help tie in. We try to do what we get, I mean, like you can imagine, we're doing, and again, it's worse further out. It's where there's very little infrastructure, new infrastructure.
Right.
And it's a challenge that we take each, we do what we can, clearly we can't do it all, that's the thing. We really take an approach to try to help first, that's the homeowner. And in certain situations, we do our best, but there's no hard, fast rule.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, because I understand that too, because I have the same problem with my next door neighbor.
You do.
The sump pump goes out into the street. Well, I'm the low area, so it runs down and it kind of like sits in front of my driveway.
Ice is over.
It ices over.
Absolutely.
In the spring and summer, it gets moldy and all green. Yeah. So, yes.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ken Grimes. I live at 2002 Pools Boulevard, and I too have a water problem. It sounds like a broken record. Records are these round things that you groove around. Okay, just for the younger people. So anyway, about 2 summers ago, work began on our corner where they installed ADA ramps. And they did it on the opposite corner, three of our corners, I think. It's at the corner of Coles and Hancock, over here in Coleston. And as part of the project, the workers removed the storm drain that I had in my yard that was near the corner, and put in as the water's going downhill, here's the drain that would flow underneath the street. They took that out, put another drain behind a curb on the Cole side. I've been thinking about the problem for a while because as the storms come, the water drainage is getting worse and worse. In fact, it seems as if the ground is raising up. And so I tried to call a surveyor. Well, first I called Brightech, a company, and he suggested, well, I've got a pipe here from my driveway all the way down to the storm drain. Well, how's it going to get there? There's a sidewalk. Well, it's going to have to go underneath. Well, I said, well, I was going to bring it up to the township, and he said, well, good luck, and let me know what they say. So anyway, this new sidewalk with curbs is causing a blockage of the water to make it into the storm drain. And as we will have approximately 195 square feet of water, about 2 inches deep in our driveway. Not the extent of your problem by any means, but it's at the end of our driveway. It happens up in winter time, and we have problems with that. And so the only way that water will go is if I physically push it with either a broom or a squeegee or something like that out into the street, and then it'll come back around and go down between the cabin that our street is made out of and a low point by our grass, and they'll just barely make it down. But I have to keep pushing it for the flow to make it to the drain. Excuse me a second. So I also took a video. This was probably a few months ago, and I showed the video to Jim Sullivan. I had a meeting with him, and I showed him the video, and he said, yeah, you've got a problem there. And I also brought it up to, I can mention your name.
Yeah, that's fine. They all know who I am.
Mr. DeSanto Esquire. I brought it up to him because he's also a neighbor in our neighborhood. Anyway, he looked at it and said, yeah, I've got water problems too, and I see what the situation here is. And essentially what I came to the conclusion of is that the removal of the drain from our yard is causing the waters to back up, and it doesn't have enough push to go over. It's actually got to go across the ADA rim on the sidewalk, go over a curb to make it. And I tried to get a surveyor to come out. I don't think they do, personal work. I think they're only commercial. So a friend of mine who's an engineer suggested, well, maybe a laser level. So I went out and bought a laser level. And from my, I just did this on my own. From what I could tell, from the low point in my driveway where the water starts backing out to the location of the drain. The drain is approximately 10 inches higher than where my driveway starts to back up. So there's been some work that's been done by the township to put in this storm and put in a curb, and there's other things associated with the work that I won't bore you with. But the basic thing is that there's got to be something to move the water around. And it's all, I believe, as a result of the work that the township had done on the corner.
I spoke with Jim Sullivan about this, and he's aware. He downloaded me on it. I did a drive-by, and I see what's going on out there. And the plan was to get it on this year's road program, hopefully. There's some work we could do with paving and whatnot to...
Right, the Hancock side is in a cap. They put down oil and cinders. They did that maybe 2 or 3 times in the 32 years that we've been there, using yesterday's technology today. But basically, it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas where they did the work on Coles with the new storm drain, that was milled and blacktop.
if you look at the intersection from Coles, it looks beautiful. When you go on the Hancock, for the members of the board, the Hancock actually bows, like the street actually bows. And where he's talking about the water meets his yard, it's actually washing away. Like the street's washing away at the corners. And we talked about the driveway sitting lower than the street. That's probably a big part of the issue with the driveway. But I actually went out and did the dollar bill thing when it was raining to see where it would go.
Where it was.
It didn't go anywhere.
There is a bit of a low point in your front yard that may be not something that we can handle with the road work, but some of it could be helped with paving.
Yeah, it's sort of blocked off
It is.
where the water can go. And like I said, put in these beautiful handicap ramps and it just washes away. And it's covered with mud when the water reaches that point.
The other thing though, when you go look at it, when I went out to see it, you said that there was a shut-off at the corner.
Yeah, that was one of the other things that I was going to mention, but I didn't know.
There was a shut-off, it's now under the sidewalk, under that corner.
For a water service?
Yeah, there had always been a water shut off in that corner. And then they paved it, and, you know, so I was still looking at it and.
It's under the ADA ramp now.
It's under, yeah, it might be, it might be. There's also like a little plastic pipe that comes up to the top of the sidewalk and is cut off. They did secure it with duct tape. So that's a plus. It's not there anymore, but I don't know, sarcastic. It's just the best, that's just how they left it. I'm not sure what that is. I never could get in there.
It sounds like something they'll typically do that so they can install a sign
A sign.
in.
Yeah, that's the other odd thing too. From our corner,
Don't buy this house.
from our corner to where they place the stop sign is about 30 to 35 feet from the intersection. So whenever I park in the front of my house, I'm afraid I'm going to get a ticket for parking in front of the stop sign. It's a little bit far, but there's no place to put, well, you put it in pavement. You put it in the sidewalk, so, but that's where they put it. Also, there's a 9-foot section of curb that they left undone because apparently there was some utility lines or gas lines underneath, and I don't know if they have the technology to do that situation.
Just redo his website.
If I can add.
Yeah, that's,
We had over, this is going to be part of our
let's say
program.
we got it.
It's going to be fine.
That's when you're good, you good with everything? Okay.
Good evening, Joe, Gary Stahl. I don't live in the township. I worked at the township for 28 years. Coming before the township tonight, I sent a letter to the board of supervisors last year, and also to Mr. Hart, requesting a look, see at our pensions that we've been receiving. We have several members of the police department who have been retired for over 30 years. They've never received any kind of COLA or pension adjustment. And that was the purpose of my letter. I never received a response from the board or Mr. Hart. So I'm forced to come here before you tonight and ask you why.
If you like. Okay. We did receive, so let me back up a second. We are in the middle of contract negotiations with our police department. During those discussions, part of the negotiations and the request in the negotiations was for exactly that, COLAs for retirees and in the future. At the same time when we were doing this, we got Mr. Stahl's letter, we got 25 other letters from retirees from the police department, all exactly the same, but basically word for word. So we understood that the police bargaining were negotiating these things. In fact, I had discussions with one or two supervisors about I know they were interested in this, in a COLA. I said, we're in the middle of negotiations where they're asking for a COLA, and we're negotiating back and forth. We are still negotiating that. And I think you're aware probably of that, because I know they're being communicated.
Now, we have no communication with any of the police department.
Oh,
I've been retired for 18 years, sir. I have members who have been retired for 32 years.
Okay.
They don't even know, I didn't know any of these members with the exception of two.
and
In
listen,
this meeting tonight, okay, Mr. Hart, I didn't know anyone.
No,
They don't know me.
Right.
I'm coming here because I wrote a letter.
Sure.
Did I get a response? Did I get a response?
You did not.
And I'm asking why. Why? Are you so busy that you can't write a letter, a form letter, like you said, that everyone else sent? And you could have mailed that to the 25 people?
If
Some of them in nursing homes?
Mr. Stahl, if that's what you wanted, I apologize for not sending the back.
How about from the Board of Supervisors?
But I can say this, Mr. Stahl, if you let me respond. We had an arbitration in here, and the only reason I said, if you let me finish, it was filled with retiree policemen. That's why I said, I didn't know if you were in there or not, but they all clearly know it was, and they had a meeting up front. That's why I assumed you would know, because 15 of them were here, all retired, and had a meeting together.
Yeah,
That's the only reason I
we were
said.
notified that the board, that the township was in negotiations for a new contract.
Oh, okay.
That I knew about.
Okay.
And at that time, they came to me and they said, guess what? The township is really thinking about a COLA for the retirees. Well, that piqued my interest, because I've sent 2 letters to previous boards and previous township managers in the past 18 years.
Okay.
And I was always informed that, can't do nothing for you, Gary. See ya. Nice talking to you.
I appreciate that, and
So,
the good
this
thing
time,
is, we're not
this
signing
time, we decided, okay, we can't bargain with the police department. We don't work here anymore. I don't know what the police department's gonna do. That's up to them,
Yes,
okay? I'm here for Gary,
I understand.
okay? I'm here for the other people who can come.
Completely understand.
So, where do I stand?
Like I said before, and respectfully,
This has nothing to do with the police bargaining.
It has, excuse me,
nothing
Mr.
to do
Stahl.
with the police bargaining.
okay, you may not think so, but in the negotiations, that is one of their requests as part of this. Whatever happens on that, which is hopefully going to be resolved within the next 2 weeks, I know the board has talked about a COLA for retirees. I don't know where it is going, if it's going to end up in the contract in the next 2
That's
weeks
why I'm here.
or
That's
not.
why I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm asking them.
Yeah.
I wrote them a letter too.
But
I don't know where the letter goes to when it goes to them, it goes to you, and then you give it to them. I know that. I worked here for 28 years. I'm not stupid. Okay? So they didn't get the letter, or you didn't respond to it.
Correct.
Okay?
Correct.
So I'm asking them, where do they stand on this? Okay? You work for them,
Yes,
okay? Let them talk.
Sir,
Are
it's up to them if they want to talk. No,
Are you elected, sir?
I'm not elected, but I'm appointed by the Board of
I know you
Supervisors.
are. I know
And
you
we're
are.
in contract negotiations with the
Talking to the
FOP.
supervisors right now.
Sir, let me finish what I am saying, and then they can speak. We're in contract negotiations with the FOP, where this is a point of bargaining right here. I am sorry that you didn't get a response from Mr. Hart, but that is really irrelevant to this matter.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Really?
Okay, so I would just ask that you listen to Mr. Hart. We will get you a response. This is part of a collective bargaining agreement.
Am I in the agreement? No. Am I, Mr. Kilkenny? Is any of the retired officers in the agreement that he's talking about?
They are requesting.
Are we in the agreement? If we're in there,
So, sir,
then I want to be on the bargaining unit.
Sir, you have an opportunity for comment. You have made your comment.
You haven't answered my question.
We don't have to answer your question. We have to listen to your comment.
Okay, that's my comment.
So we will get the information. We'll talk to Labor Council. We'll talk to the administration and get you a written response.
I can't wait to hear it.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Buchanan. If I could say, which I did respectfully, I did say, the bargaining unit has made it a point of our negotiations, whether you like them to or not. a COLA for retirees. Whether you like it or not, so I mean, I have to say that that's factual. We have had discussions with the board about a COLA. Because it's in this negotiation, which should end by the 14th. God, I hope it ends by the 14th. That will, either it will be negotiated in there, or the board, we will have a discussion right afterwards, and the board knows that, that's what we're waiting for that. I apologize that I didn't reach out to you after that. Again, I apologize for that. We did get 20 or 25 of them, and my mistake, when I saw everyone here and it's very coordinated, I assumed it was coordinated with you like it was all the others. That's my mistake. I apologize.
I accept your apology. I accept your apology.
Thank
Okay? Thank you for listening.
Gary, just let me say one thing. I've known you a long time. You're a very straightforward person. And I apologize that I did not see your letter. I probably would have responded to you. But with the negotiations, you were probably unwittingly grouped in that COLA category for retirees, even though you weren't made aware of it. So there is, we have to negotiate as a unit.
I understand.
And we're thinking that you were aware of that. So now we know you're not, and, I'm sorry that we, did not get back to you on that.
No, we've been working in the dark. Thank you.
We will see what we can do to get this situation resolved.
Appreciate it, Joe. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rowe.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Marla Bivens, 2111 Broadway Avenue.
Okay.
I have two issues. I would like to know if Broadway is zoned for businesses, because lawn service have moved back in Broadway. Huge trucks, huge. And is it zoned for having a business?
It would depend on the property. There's a big business in the back, but I don't know the property.
But I thought the business in the back was, because that business has been there, so it was grandfathered in.
Yeah,
And we were told that no other business was coming back there like that, because my problem is, it's a playground. It's small. It's bad on the roads.
fully understand.
It's one way in, one way out. When I was coming over here, you had a huge tree cutting truck. Two. So traffic is backed up.
So is the equipment parked on the street?
I have no idea, because I don't live back in that area, but I just want to know, is the business zoned for that?
Okay.
Because we should have been aware.
If I can do exact address, I can.
Yeah, you'll be able to get that information.
I would assume not. I would assume
We should
not.
have been aware.
Yeah, there's been nothing approved to be there, so just so you know that.
Well, the property was just sold. I don't have a problem with a lawn, people have to make their money. Everybody got a job to do.
Sure.
But they started out with just trucks.
Understood.
And all of a sudden, it's creeping with another truck. Now, we got these big dump trucks. Now, I know it's a business back there, but that business has been back there
Understood.
forever,
I didn't know where you were talking.
forever. And,
If you can give us approximate, we'll be out there first thing in the morning, I promise you.
right, it's in the back,
So I know the
Is
area.
it all the way to the bottom of Broadway?
at the end. The
At the
house
very
was
end.
just sold.
Yeah, at the very end where all the
Right.
trucks, and there's like a chain link fence there?
Well, it's all the way in the back.
Is it on the
I
right?
think it's they cross from each other,
Okay,
because the property was just sold.
okay.
And we were told that it was just a lawn service. And I saw trucks, no problem.
Right.
But now,
You got huge trucks.
We will check it first thing tomorrow. Yeah, promise.
Thank you, because you guys, like I said, I don't call it complaining, I just call it being. My next problem is, well, it's not a problem. My next issue is on Shamokin. I had complained about that before, where they're dumping. Dumping brings rodents. Because I have a deer family that lives across the street from me. I have a fox family that lives down the street from me. It's coyotes back there. So when I first moved back there 20-something years ago, 29, it'd be 30 years in December. When I first moved back there, where the property is, it used to have a little fence. So you couldn't dump, you couldn't get back there. I don't know what happened to the little barrier that was there. It would be nice if you guys can put a barrier back there, because they got huge, big, huge pieces of lumber. So,
We will take a look. I'm not,
yeah, it would be nice just to clean it up.
codes and police will have a look at it tomorrow,
And put,
absolutely, and
and
we'll see.
just put something there where they can't back their trucks up.
We will definitely look at it.
Alright.
It's something we can do. I don't know who's, I'll have to check into it, but whatever we can do to stop that. And I know that's a problem. The dead end, the bottom.
It's a dead end where it's
Park and
right
everyone's
before you get
there.
to Sawmill Creek, they just push it right back.
Right,
I know exactly what
and
it's-
it's just horrible. It's just, it's getting worse and worse. And also, the gentleman who lives on that corner, when he does his leaves, he pushes his leaves back there because he can't push it in the street on Broadway. And when the leaf cleaner come by, they don't go down the streets. They just stay directly on Broadway. So now you got all the leaves, fire hazard. So, you know.
We will look into that first thing.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Lisa Weinstock. I was here last month and showing you all these plastics that are just being made again. This is a drop in the bucket that has to go in the trash can because it will not recycle 5s and 6s in this township. So, Mr. Hart, you're gonna look into maybe getting a new deal with a
Well,
different.
Well, we looked into, and I'll be addressing some of that a little later, but we also looked into, I know Supervisor Rivera looked into it right away, that Whitetail does take those right now. My initial thing would be
Is Whitetail going through the entire township?
about 80 to 75% of it. But you live in an apartment.
I live in an apartment
Contracts.
building, so I don't know who contracts with us.
Yeah, and my first guidance would be speak to your leasing agent or whatever and encourage them. That'd be the first thing, encourage them.
Right, but the ordinance doesn't require it. So if they don't expand the ordinance to include 5s and 6s, nobody has to be,
I
why should they bother if the township ordinance doesn't require it?
Well, I mean, Whitetail does it already, so the point is there's,
But if my building isn't serviced by
well,
Whitetail,
that's what you said, why would anybody do it? Well, they do it. So my point is,
Right.
if you've asked, obviously, if you ask the owners, they may be open to it. You don't know. That's all I'm trying to say.
but that 25% of the township isn't going green.
Well,
Mr. Hart, may I?
it's a much bigger issue than that, but okay.
I think that there is I understand where you're coming from. I get it. I completely get it. There's also there's a component of free will here that you're talking about. If you're living in a place that doesn't do with the recycling what you want it to do, then I would urge you to take the recycling somewhere where they do with it what you want them to do.
How am I gonna take it? I'm gonna take my plastics
I don't
to
know,
where?
but what you're kind of asking is for us to change the ordinance, and there's a lot that goes into changing an ordinance. It's not something that happens quickly. In the meantime,
What's required to change the ordinance?
well, there's cost analysis, there's impact on.
Right, and that's what I thought Mr. Hart was looking into,
Well,
cost
it is,
analysis.
well, Supervisor Rivera looked into it, Mr. Hart, you did look into it, it's much more expensive. And while I'm with you, we have to make decisions for the entire township.
Exactly.
So someone who is passionate, like you are, about recycling, there may be somebody who's just as passionate that they can't spend an extra $75 a month on there's passion on both sides of the conversation.
Who mandated for ones and twos to be?
That was done a long time ago.
So somebody was passionate back then for ones and twos.
I don't know that anybody was
Otherwise, we wouldn't
passionate.
have that ordinance for ones and twos. Somebody wanted it done. And now it's time to expand. Because we have a horrible climate problem.
Well, and again, some of the research I've done, I don't want to get into it because
So it would come out to be like more in taxes probably,
No, this
That would be
this is
cost to the
private.
residents.
Cost to the
Yeah,
residents.
This is private. It's-
to, what, rent?
From the trash companies.
Trash, pickup. Here in East Norton, the residents pay for their trash pickup.
Okay,
So it would add to the
so
cost.
there's,
If the ordinance was more restrictive,
they would have to
fewer
pay,
operators might operate in the township, or if they do, they might choose to charge more.
so they'll charge more and people will have to pay more to do the right thing.
Well, and again, this is not the forum for the bigger conversation, but part of my research, really, I'm sure you're aware, and being passionate about this, of how much
This is horrible,
recycling.
that I'm gonna stick this in my trash can.
But I'm,
I'm
please,
gonna take a,
can I please?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
How much current recycling actually gets recycled, so it is a very low percentage, so there's so much around this. There's a lot of work to be done on our end. On all levels, I think you see.
there's a lot of work, what?
But again, not for here, that's a big discussion, but we are fortunate that the majority of the township is serviced by a company that takes that. Secondly, we are in the process and have been in the process of getting bids for a township-wide trash service. So that has only, so just so you understand, that has only taken us about a year.
Yeah,
And prior to that, the discussions of even getting a price for township-wide has taken 25 years because we were infringing on constitutional, my point, what I'm trying to say is,
what is taking 25 years?
what I'm trying to say is, as passionate, and I think some of our supervisors said it, the moment you say, or any of us says, we want this, we have a group that comes in and says, it's my constitutional right not for you to shove that down my throat. You don't have to agree with it, I may not agree with it, but what I'm saying is, it's a much more complex decision and process than it appears. That's kind
Well,
of,
somebody shoved those ones and twos down everybody's throat a long time ago. And who protested back then?
I have no idea.
Obviously, not enough people protested then, and they're paying to have their ones and twos recycled. So, yeah, are we willing to give it a try and see if anybody protests?
Well,
Rather than just taking the stand
We're
that
just-
somebody may
we're
come
not taking
and
a
knock
stand.
it down?
We're not taking a stand, we're doing more information. We will continue to bring more information to you. Again, if I was passionate today and I was a renter at a particular building, the first thing I would go was to them and say, please, 75% of the township at a minimum is already doing this, please do this. That's what I would do. And I'm not trying to be smart in any manner. That's truly what I would do. Because that's the quickest resolution you can get for it.
Right.
Is something.
What's involved in changing the ordinance? I wouldn't know.
I think, thank you very much for your comments, ma'am. I think the board has heard them. You heard from Mr. DeSanto, it takes a little bit to change an ordinance. and I'm sure the board will consider this. And if you have new information for the board, will add, because I think they've heard you, they understand what the concerns are, it asks you to bring it to their attention or the township
And my
manager. But thank you for your
option now
comments.
to go to my apartment building and speak with them, and then hope that the township negotiates a deal for the entire township.
Well,
Well, it's-
And that could take
it's not
another.
that simple, but I'll say okay, because that's a whole other discussion.
So if you have new, I said, the board has heard you,
Right.
they understand your concerns.
I know.
They've asked, the manager's looking into that. But if you have new information, please bring it to the board and manager. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? All right, done being, all business,
Starting with ordinance number 605, amending chapter 26, article 1, East Norriton Township Employees Pension Plan. I'd like to call upon Bob Hart to review this.
Thank you, Supervisor. As you recall, our last meeting, the March meeting, you authorized advertisement of this amendment to the pension ordinance. It includes, or it encompasses a one-time early retirement package that really just, it was offered to 6 people because it affects 6 people, but only one was interested in it. And it in general, just changes, puts something in mind. We made some pension reforms 2 or 3 years ago. There was one area of it, of how many years of service and then when we collect. That was out of line, that wasn't changed at the time. We moved that down. As an example, you're 60 years old, you start here. You invest in 5 years in a pension. You retire. Even though you vested in 5 years, you still can't collect for 5 more years, 10 years. And that was something that was left out of, it wasn't adjusted when we did the pension reform. So we are just, this is a one-time thing, it really only affects one person, so we're doing it as, we don't have to change everything. We just have to, this one-time offer brings it down even, and that's what you're amending to, that's what you're just adding to the pension plan, a one-time early retirement option that allows them to collect and not meet the full 10 years. So that's what's before you.
and then I guess in the future, if there's more people that would be interested, we would revisit this.
Yes, I mean, and if it would, it probably won't. It would be a rare situation that it would. That's why we did think changing all the wording and everything. But if it did, that's something you can consider going forward on a case-by-case basis.
Right. All right, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve.
I'll put that in form of motion.
Thank you, Supervisor Piero. Do I have a second? Thank you, Supervisor Gavanis. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Ordinance 606, amending Chapter 196, stop intersections. I'd like to call on our Chief of Police, Matt Brannon, to enlighten us on this matter.
Thank you, Supervisor Urbanis. Before you should be a list of 17 intersections in the town. The police department received some complaints from residents in the Colston neighborhood regarding traffic that are trying to avoid the construction on 202 and cutting through to get onto Swede Road and not abiding by the stop signs. So we've put forth an effort to have police officers there, but in doing so, we conducted a neighborhood field evaluation study with the township engineer, a director of engineering services, and found that there were several intersections that were void of stop signs. Some intersections in that neighborhood and the adjacent neighborhood had no stop signs at intersections. So there was 17 in total amongst this list in front of you that we are asking that you amend the citation to, the ordinance to include these intersections and add stop signs so that each intersecting road has a appropriate facing stop sign to make it safer in terms of the traffic.
Okay, any questions on the ordinance? None being, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve.
I'll put that in the form of motion.
Thank you, Supervisor Rivera. I have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Supervisor DeSanto. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes carried.
Ordinance for a 2001 international dump truck with a plow and salt spreader.
and you turn it off. Mr. Chris, can you review this item, please?
Sounds like you're right by the BB gun.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Thank you, Supervisor DePiero. You may recall at last board meeting, the board authorized the advertisement for sale on municipal bid for our 2001 International truck and separately for a Target Road saw. And you may recall we had a conversation about the saw at that time. Bids were received. The high bid of $6,650 was received on the 2001 International truck by Jeffrey Tran. And the high bid on the Target Road saw was from Steve Moret for a total of $355. The recommendation is to award the truck purchase to Jeffrey Tran for a total of $6,650, and the Target Road saw to Steve Moret for a total of $355. Be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions on the,
What are you gonna do?
like to entertain a motion to approve?
I'll put that in front of the motion.
Thank you Supervisor DeSanto, do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you Supervisor DePiero, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Award grass cutting services proposal. I'd like to call on Finance Director Dave Chris to review the item.
Thank you, Vice Chair DeSanto. In front of you tonight are the results of our RFP that was issued for the grass cutting services. You may recall we've had a grass cutting service for the last 3 years. We had a 3-year contract that expired at the end of 2023. Last month, the board authorized the issuance of an RFP for a new contract. Those bids were received on April 23rd. 2 bids were received, one from J. Wilson Landscaping, the other from RT Landscaping and Masonry. The J. Wilson bid was for $38,070 for year 1, that's 2024, with a optional price in 2025 for the same amount of $38,070, and then an optional 3rd year, 2026, for the same amount, $38,070. By comparison, the RT Landscaping bids were $47,850 for each of those 3 years. So the township staff is recommending that the grass cutting services bid be awarded to J. Wilson Landscaping. Be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Were there any differences in the service?
There were not. There were no exceptions to the bid. Each company filled out the bid sheet identically, other than obviously the dollar amounts.
Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve.
I'll put that in the form of motion.
Thank you Supervisor Cabanas.
I'll second that.
Thank you Supervisor Rivera, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And finally, we have trash recycling bid results. So pursuant to our conversation earlier, this has been advertised over several months, the survey that was issued to the township. It was narrowly in favor of us collecting more information about the potential for a single hauler within the township, so that's something we've explored, and Bob going to share with us the results of that exploration tonight.
Yes, thank you Supervisor Rivera. As you said, we've been working on this for quite a while. We did a survey, and it literally came down to 50-50 about no, we don't want any private service. We want our private service, and about 50.1% that said, yeah, inquire more about a township-wide single hauler. So we inquired about a single hauler. We put out an RFP. We had 3 responses. Interesting responses. The low bidder was Whitetail Disposal, who currently collects the majority of our township as it is. Mascaro & Sons and BFI. Whitetail was by far the lowest bidder. The second 2, the 2 non-winning bids, or the two higher bids were, I'll give you the numbers. Whitetail Disposal, base bid amount $11 million, $49,000. Mascara $14,460,000, and BFI $14,000,000, BFI 16,135,000, and then extension options, which go higher and higher and higher. The lowest bid, Whitetail Disposal, is by far the lowest bid. And they, as I said before, they already service most of the township. The recommendation from staff to the board, after looking at every perspective through this, is to reject all bids. And that recommendation is because Whitetail Disposal right now, there's different prices, people are getting different prices throughout the township, and the lowest bid is Whitetail, but it would still increase rates from where many people are, from what many people are paying now. And based on that, it's not something we can't look at clearly because prices go up, and we're much more in tune now after the survey of what people are, I would say 5 years ago, if we had done the survey, it would have been 70% against even doing a survey. But over time, it has, with the, there was a time here when I started here 8 years ago, there were 9 private trash haulers servicing the township. Today there are 2. And they're really only 1.5 because one does the entire township, the other one does half of the township. So we're in evolving times, especially in trash hauling and recycling, and it's something that we will keep on top of and come back to every 6 months as things evolve. But tonight, after reading everything and going through all this, we truly believe the recommendation, the right recommendation, the prudent recommendation at this time is to reject all bids and continue the current process.
Okay, any questions for the manager? All right, none being, I agree with you, Manager Hart, that at this point in time, I don't believe it's a good idea to accept this. I think it needs to be rejected. I think in the future, we may have to look at it. It all depends on what happens with the trash haulers. There could be a point in the future where we don't get anybody, and we have to,
Correct.
Go to something.
Correct.
But I think for this day and this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to reject all bids. Yes.
My name is already on with Whitetail. I just thought it might be a good idea to explain our bid so that you're aware. No, that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, this is all.
I can review everything, we had the engineers and the finance people.
Okay, so again, I'll decide that I'm entertaining a motion to reject the bids. Do I have a motion?
I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Thank you, Supervisor DePiero. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Supervisor Cabanas. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
And if, Mr. Chairman, if I could just reinforce one.
Sure.
For everybody involved in all that, we're going to do more research on this, especially with some of the comments with recycling. And we know we're in a evolving time, and we are literally going to, in 6 months, we're going to come back to you with more information and see what the board wants to do. We have a much better understanding of the entire process and the different offerings than we did 6 months ago.
And I believe at this time, it was the thing to do is to reject this, but that doesn't mean that in the future, things could change, so.
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate the story.
Okay, you ready now?
All right, one item on the new business, and we're going to pay the bills now. Bruce is going to tell us how much we're paying for this past month.
Thank you, Supervisor Gavanis. In front of you tonight are the township expenditures for the period of March 26, 2024 through April 29, 2024. And they total $933,729.71. Our accounts payable expenditures, which include payments for utilities, supplies, and services, they total $377,167.23. And our payroll expenditures for that time period, which includes payments for salaries, wages, and taxes, included $556,562.48. Again, the total for that time period, $933,729.71. Tonight, Township staff is also asking for the board's approval of those expenditures for that time period. Be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? I'd like to entertain a motion to approve.
Put that as part of the motion.
Thank you, Supervisor DeSanto. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Supervisor Rivera. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Hart, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of comments on, one, Mr. Cole, who is on our zoning hearing board, who was here last month and asked a question about, we had hired a firm a while ago to answer the comprehensive plan to review our zoning ordinance and our saldo. Jim Sullivan had been working on it, had prior to leaving with the company that he had engaged. I know Krista Heinrich has re-engaged with them, but they're almost done something, but I'll let her explain it because she just had the most recent contact.
Right, we have received drafts of several of the ordinance section revisions, and they're working on finalizing the other remaining ones and get them to us. Once we get them, we'll review them, we'll go back and forth with edits, and should be in a position to make things happen
And
soon.
then to bring it to our
Of course.
whatever boards is,
Right.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So will that be a new map too?
That I don't think, because right now, from what I understand, the focus is on other sections, and then that'll be a next phase.
Okay.
Yes.
'Cause
Saldo and Zoning are working on separately.
Okay.
For reasons that that professional people suggested they do it that way, but we tried to put a light under their foot to get the movement
Okay.
on the place.
Great. Thank you.
I also received a question about if there's any update on the cell tower issue and just wanted to say, and we talked about it a few months ago, lots of information came through, documents with some information that our lawyers we had to change, it wasn't correct, a lot of review time, so I literally just signed a correction earlier today when I came back from court. So that is moving along. I hope to have more information by next month because it seems to be winding down now. But like anything else, when, no offense, Mr. Solicitor, but when the lawyers all get involved, things can slow down sometimes because they change a lot of little things. But it's all good, and I prefer to have our solicitors really on top of this so that nothing slips through, and they've been working very well with it, so.
Thank you. I mean, I'm all excited about getting better service.
Right.
You know, I guess it's going to take a while longer.
Mr. Cole will get much better service as well. And that kind of stuff. Lastly, I know today feels like July. But springtime is moving forward. We're really excited. We're doing a lot of Parks and Rec is exploding with really looking ready for our parks and our concerts in the park, our pocket park concert, Heroes Park over on North Wales. Lots of exciting things coming up this spring and summer. So stay tuned for some really exciting and hopefully really positive spring and summer.
And no rain.
And no rain.
Or smoke.
Yes.
Hey, any questions for our manager? None being, I'll review the dates coming up for Tuesday. I have the wrong dates here. Sorry, you're going to have to look at the website because I have March and April on my.
I have them right here. I have them.
You have them?
He kind of told me to shut up. He was like, we're gonna have to look at the website, push the paper back at me.
The March and April meetings were fantastic.
Yes, yeah, great. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I gotta get this tape. Tuesday, March 14th, the zoning hearing board. Wednesday, March 15th, planning commission. I'm still in March. May, I'm sorry, May 14th, zoning hearing board. May 15th, planning commission. May 16th, human relations commission. May 20th, historical advisory committee. May 28th is the Board of Supervisors meeting. And that's all for the meetings. All
I'd like
right.
to thank everyone who came out and spoke and stayed and listened to each other and listened to the rest of the proceeding of the meetings. I think that really shows the engagement and the appreciation. So I appreciate that.
It's great. Okay, citizens be heard. Anybody else want to come up to the podium? All right. I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Supervisor Rivera. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Supervisor Shapiro. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.